This is The Express with Gary Allen, your 360-degree view of the world. Now, here's your host, Gary Allen.
And good evening, everybody, and welcome to The Express. Gary Allen with you. My guest will be joining us in just a couple of seconds here. I just want to get through some basic stuff here and bring you folks up to date with things. If you want to check me out, go to my Facebook page at Gary Allen, A-L-A-N, youtube.com, Gary Allen The Express, to hear this show, which will be on Friday afternoon again, as well as on Thursday night at 7 o'clock on diversitybroadcastnetwork.com. On the YouTube channel, of course, you can listen to all my past shows, and, of course, progressivevoices.com. It'll be on there Friday afternoon as well. But before we get to that, EW, I know there's something you would like our audience to be aware of that we're doing here at TMV Cafe, so the floor is yours, sir.
Well, just simply want to remind everyone that we are doing what we call the project upgrade. And, as an awesome station, everybody tries to continue to improve. And that's what we're doing. We've got so many things that we've got in the works. And this is phase one that we need your help with. So basically, we ask everyone if you can help us reach our goal to upgrade the station for you and our artists, those wonderful independent artists. And simply just go to the homepage, tmvcafe.com. You can see all the information there. You can click on the donate tab and do it that way. Or if you want to send a check or money order, you can get the P.O. box from the contact tab.
All right. Well, thank you, EW. Tonight's guest, and by the way, I want to thank everybody for taking a few minutes out of your time to join us here on The Express. This is Gary Allen. I hope you have had a wonderful week since we saw you last. I'm beginning to count my 3 to 4 million illegal votes to make me an talk show host of the year, but nevertheless, I'll still manage to get through this. But on a more serious side, the gentleman joining us tonight, Richard Lustig, is a 7-time lottery grand prize winner. Now, we're not going to get into how much he's made and how much money he has from it. Let's just say that he's written an absolutely wonderful book, Learn How to Increase Your Chances of Winning the Lottery, and he's won it 7 times. And some of the people as he's counseled and coached have won also. And we're going to get into that a little bit later on. But a little background on Richard. Richard started his career in 1970 touring the country as a singer and drummer for some of the top 40 rock and roll bands. He was a born performer, and he was also a stint as a disc jockey on radio stations, as well as in nightclubs and weddings, corporate events, etc. In 1980, Richard started his own company called Lustig Talent Enterprises in Orlando, Florida, booking national entertainers around the world for fairs, festivals, casinos, and more. And let's just say that all his entertainment and his experience has allowed him to prevail in this area as far as helping people, coaching people, talking to people about how they can increase their chances of winning money in the lottery. He's appeared on such programs as The Rachel Ray Show, Good Morning America, Fox and Friends, NBC Nightly News, CBS Early News, MSNBC, CNN, Canadian TV, German TV, New York Post, Sirius XM Radio, The Today Show, etc., etc., etc. Let me introduce this fine young man to all of you, Mr. Richard Lustig. Richard, thank you for joining us here on The Express and taking a few minutes out of your day.
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure. Thank you.
You're more than welcome. Before we get into the specific of the book and everything, what made you decide, were you always a player of the lottery before you hit it?
Yes. Now, first of all, let's correct something, though. I want to make sure, because I never, ever want people to be misled and say, well, I heard you say this, and, I've won 7 lottery game grand prizes. So right. That's the proper title. I've won 7 lottery game grand prizes. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Now, yes, I have always been a lottery player. My whole life I've always been a gambler. I go to casinos all the time. I like to gamble. In the 1980s, the lottery came to Florida, and I was pretty much like everybody else. Oh wow, the lottery, buy some tickets, win millions of dollars, retire, be rich, and like everybody else, I didn't really have any kind of plan or method or how to do it. I didn't know what I was doing. I like everybody else, I was just buying tickets, and also, like everybody else, I was losing 99% of the time. So, I did that for a while, and then I stopped and said to myself, okay, wait a minute here. There's got to be a catch here or something. I mean, you hear people win. Well, there's got to be something you can do to increase your chances of winning, because this is ridiculous. I'm basically just throwing my money down the drain. Mm-hmm. So I sat down and I started writing down things that I thought would work. Okay? Mm-hmm. And as I would try the things, some of them were stupid ideas. They didn't work, and I threw them all out the window. But some of them worked. And, I said, okay, so these are not bad ideas. And so I kind of kept a list of the things that worked. And as the list of things that worked got longer and I used them all at the same time, obviously now the results started to change into my favor. Now, no big grand prizes or anything yet, but instead of losing all the time, I was winning now maybe $50, $500, $5,000. So I'm saying to myself, okay, this is much better than than it was before.
Right.
And so I kept working on this with no real. I had no idea of what road I was heading down. I just was trying to win money like everybody else. And then all of a sudden I won my first grand prize. Now, I got to admit, like everybody else, I just thought I was a real lucky guy. Wow, I won a grand prize. This is cool. Yeah. And it happened to happen at a real good time because my son had just been born. And even though we had insurance, insurance doesn't cover the whole bill.
Right.
And we obviously didn't know how we were going to pay our share of the hospital bill. Are they going to keep our baby as ransom or something? I mean, now I wish they had kept him as ransom, but that's a whole other story. And then at the same time, we were living in an older house, and every time it rained, our roof leaked, and it was just like a scene out of the movies. When it would rain, out came the pots and the pans to catch the water. It was ridiculous, And we got some estimates, and again, we couldn't afford to repair our roof, so it was pots and pans. And then I win this first grand prize, and I go, wow, so we paid off the hospital, and we got our roof repaired, and there went the whole money that we won. We didn't even go out and celebrate. We didn't even go out and have dinner and celebrate it, but that's okay because we took care of two very important things, and we didn't have the money for them until I won that grand prize. So, okay, fine. I win a grand prize. Whoopee. So I keep playing, and I keep throwing out things that don't work. I keep adding more things that work, and then all of a sudden, I won my second grand prize. Okay, cool. Then my third, and then my fourth. When I won my fourth lottery game grand prize, that's when the light went on inside my head. And I said, okay, let's catch our breath here for a second. I don't even know anybody that's even won one time. Right. And here, I've won 4 lottery game grand prizes. I mean, common sense tells you I got to be doing something right,
Right.
Though everybody thought the same thing. I must have a method or something. Method, you're just a really lucky guy. And I'm saying, are you listening to yourselves? I've won 4 lottery game grand prizes, and you're saying it's just because I'm lucky?
Mm-hmm.
Well, then I win number 5, which happened to be my biggest one.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm totally convinced.
Now, Richard, let me ask you something. From the first time that you won till the 5th time you won, what's the time period there? That wasn't like
a few years. Between I've been playing. Let's see, when the lottery came to Florida, I guess it was 2 or 3 years after it came that I finally won that first one. Mm-hmm. And I guess between the first one and the 5th one, another 3 or 4 years went by. So, I was winning averaging out about 1 every 2 years, maybe, which I'd do that for the rest of my life. It's fine with me.
Yeah.
Because, some people never, ever win. Never,
Yeah. Yeah.
So now I'm absolutely convinced. I've won 5 lottery game grand prizes. I mean, we owed no money. All our bills were paid. I'm driving around in a Jaguar. My son finally became of age to have a car, so I buy him a Beamer. My wife and I are going on cruises, and we're having a good time, and we're completely debt free, and we're enjoying it.
Right.
Well, now I'm sort of becoming a local celebrity. I live in Orlando, and I'm all of a sudden everywhere I go. Because now I've been all over the news, I've been on various talk shows, this and that, and blah, blah, blah. And I'd be at the post office, and somebody would walk up to me and say, "Aren't you that guy that I seen on TV, the lottery guy?" That's me. I said, "Yeah, that's me,"
Mm-hmm.
Well, so the question I kept getting from everybody was, "So tell me, what's your secret? What's your secret?" That's what everybody wanted to know.
Right.
And so I kept getting it enough times that I said to myself, well, you know what, I'll sit down and write it out, type up some sort of little report or something, what I do or don't do, whatever. And I did, and it came out to about 8 or 9 pages. So I'm running them off my computer, and then I'm stapling them together, and I would have 3 or 4 copies with me, and I'd go to the store, and people would come up to me as usual and say, "So what's your secret?" And I'd say, "Well," I said, "I've got it all here, right here, all typed up. It explains what I do, and I'm asking $30 for it." And I really didn't think anybody was going to pay me. I figured they were going to say, $30? What are you, out of your mind? I'm not going to give you $30.
Right.
I barely got the words out of my mouth, and they're digging the cash out of their pocket.
Really?
And I'm going like, okay. So every day I'm having to bring, instead of carrying only 3 or 4 with me, now I'm carrying like a dozen with me. Now I'm carrying like 2 dozen with me. And it's like I'm selling them out as fast as I can print them out.
Mm-hmm.
So now somebody said, "Well, do you have a website?" I didn't have a website. So we put up a website. And now I'm starting to get orders, not just from Orlando, but I'm getting them from all over the state of Florida. Then the big break that took me from a national celebrity from a statewide celebrity to a national celebrity was I get a phone call one day from the Learning Channel.
Mm-hmm.
And they had this show, which I'd never heard of before, called The Lottery Changed My Life.
Yes.
And so they asked me, we'd like to send a camera crew down and spend a few days with you and your family and take some footage and do some interviewing stuff and put you on our show.
Right.
So I said, sure, why not? What the heck, I've been in the entertainment business all my life, so being in front of cameras and stuff didn't bother me at all,
Oh, yeah. You know what I forgot to mention, too? By
Yeah.
the way, we're talking to Richard Lustig here on The Express. He is the author of Learn How to Increase Your Chances of Winning the Lottery. He has won the lottery 7 times. But what I forgot to mention, Richard, is that you are the manager for a group that I know well enough. I mean, I don't know the individual band members, but I know their music, Rare Earth.
Absolutely. I have been booking Rare Earth for, 20-something years now. And I'm not their manager. I'm actually their exclusive agent. I represent them worldwide. So if anybody wants them, they have to come to me for them. Yeah, they're great, a bunch of guys. And their show just kicks butt. I mean, it's like as if they haven't aged a day. And it's just, they're an amazing show. And for people that maybe don't, they're saying Rare Earth. I know that name. They had big hits. I just want to celebrate another day of living, and get ready, 'cause here I come. Yeah. And Hey Big Brother, and songs like that. So I the talent agency, as you mentioned in the intro. I've had the talent agency now for 30-something years, and I have booked. I book mostly 70s and 80s classic rock acts. I exclusively represent Rare Earth, but I have booked Kansas, Styx, Doobie Brothers, Eddie Money. The list just goes. I'm not just classic rock. I also book 70s and 80s like disco and pop, like the Jets, Sister Sledge, the Pointer Sisters, Kool and the Gang, the Commodores. So, that's what I specialize in, is 70s and 80s classic music. So anyway,
yeah.
So finally I had to go to a printer, and say, can you print these things up for me? Because I need 100 of them at a time because I can't print them up fast enough anymore now on a computer. So we're printing them up that way, and now I hit number 6. And I'm walking into the store in the morning to get my tickets, and there's a line every day this is it going on now. It's an everyday occurrence. I walk in, and there's a line of people there, not waiting to buy their groceries. They're waiting for my arrival because the clerk told them, well, he usually comes in between 9 or 10, and they're waiting there, and they're all standing there with their $30 in their hands. They want to buy my method. So my son, which is like what I said a little while ago, you could almost take him now, but my son is the culprit. He's the one that started this whole thing. He said to me at that point, he says, you know, Dad, you're missing the boat. And I said, what do you mean, Nick? He says, you need to write a book. And I go, write a book? I'm not an author. I'm a ex-singer and drummer and the current talent agent. And yeah, I've won lottery grand prizes and stuff. I said, but I'm not an author. He said, I'm telling you, you're crazy if you don't write a book. And he kept hounding me till finally one day, purely just to get him off my back, I sat down, took a look at my list, and by now that list was 2-3 years old.
Right.
That I was still printing up. And I had added a lot more stuff to it, making it much more effective. I had altered a few things and stuff. So there were changes that needed to be made. And by the time I started seriously putting some effort and time into it, I said, wow, I do have enough for a book. So I went to the traditional book route, calling big name publishing companies. And they wouldn't give me the time of day.
Yeah.
No one wants to buy a book about the lottery. No, we're not interested. I'm like, I'm telling you, this, and right about this time was when the economy was starting to, fold under.
Right.
And I'm saying, I'm telling you guys, this will be a hit. People, they're not interested. They're not interested. So somebody says to me, with regular publishing companies, they give you an advance, they put up all the money, and so forth and so on, and they, of course, get a bigger piece of the pie. They said, your other choice is self-publishing, and the difference is you put up all the money.
Right.
And they still publish the book for you, and they'll distribute it for you, but you have to put up all the money, and therefore you obviously get a bigger piece of the pie. So I start calling self-publishing companies. I found one that I liked, the way they were talking and everything. So we make a deal. I send them the money. My wife's sister is an award-winning graphic artist. She is, in fact, when the Olympics a few years back was in Vancouver, she was living in Vancouver at the time, and she got hired by the Olympics committee or whatever to do some graphic artwork for the Olympics and stuff. So she helped us with the designing of the book, the cover, the interior, so forth and so on. And meanwhile, while this is going on, I'm still selling these 9-page reports for $30 like they're hotcakes,
Right.
So we finally are ready. The book is done. Pictures are all inserted. All the wording has been done. The publisher's going to take it to the press. And I told the publisher, I said, I want to charge $40 for this book. And the publisher said, you're crazy. No one's going to pay $40 for a book about the lottery. And my family said, you're crazy. No one's going to pay $40 for a book about the lottery. And my friends said the same. Everybody's telling me I'm crazy. I'm saying, wait a minute, everybody. I've been getting $30 for a 9-page report.
Yeah.
I'm not selling them a Western or a drama or a science fiction. I'm not selling them a book for entertainment where they read it once or twice and then it sits on a shelf and collects dust for the rest of their lives. I'm selling them a how-to. This is a how-to book. I'm selling them something that could turn them into millionaires.
Right.
So $40 investment at the possibility of winning millions of dollars is a drop in the bucket.
Yes.
So, fine. Against everybody, I said, I'm putting my foot down. We're going to sell it. It's going to be $40. So now, the day I speak to my publisher, whatever that day was. It was a Monday, I think it was. And he said, okay, so tomorrow morning we're taking the book to the printer and start running the presses. And Gary, that night I won number 7.
Oh, wow.
The night before my book went to press. And on the front of the book it said, written by 6-time lottery game grand prize winner. So so for dramatic purposes, you're always looking for a little hook, something to make it more exciting or whatever.
Yes.
So instead of just changing the word to 7, we put an X over the word 6 and wrote the number 7 above it,
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it made it a little more interesting. So anyway, So I called my publisher up right away. The next morning I said, did you take the book to the printer yet? He says, no, I'm getting ready to. I said, don't take it. Stop. He says, why? He said, what, did you change your mind? I said, no. I said, you're not going to believe this. I said, last night I won number 7. He says, you're kidding me. I said, no, I'm serious. And by the way, Gary, all of my wins are registered with the Florida State Lottery. Okay? This is all very real. If anybody and I encourage people to check me out. If anybody wants to check me out, they can check with the Florida State Lottery. I not only have done something that no one else has ever done before by winning 7 lottery game grand prizes, but also in the state of Florida, if you have a winning ticket that's less than $600, you can take it to any store that sells lottery tickets, and they'll cash it in for you. Okay?
Yes.
But if you have a winning ticket that is $600 or more, you have to take it to the lottery offices to cash it in.
And they're in Tallahassee, right?
They're in Tallahassee. They were in Tallahassee. The only location was in Tallahassee at the time. Now they've got one office here in Orlando, and they got one in Miami, one in Tampa, whatever. Anyway, I hold an astounding record. I have been to the lottery offices an amazing 23 times with a winning ticket that was too large for the local merchants to pay.
Wow.
And again, all this is documented. So we go to press, and now the whole country knows who I am. Next thing you know, I'm getting orders from Canada, Australia, South Africa, England, Italy, Japan, France. I mean, all over the world. It's just amazing. The networks, NBC, CBS, Fox, and ABC, the 4 major ones, all have me in their database as the lottery expert. So anytime there is either a very huge jackpot or some sort of a scandalous story or whatever it may be that's newsworthy of the lottery, boom, my phone rings. I have a PR firm that represents me in D.C.
Yes,
and boom,
you do.
They get a call. Pardon?
Yes, you do. And Miss Jessica is one of the sweetest young ladies you're ever going to meet.
And I passed your compliment on to her boss, by the way. I told him, I said, Burke, I just want you to know, by the way, the gentleman that I'm doing the interview with, Gary, he told me that Jessica was just a dream to work with, very helpful and everything. It's because people need to hear that,
Yeah, she's done. We've been doing work together, her and I, for over a year now with a variety of different guests. And Burke and his entire company, they do a wonderful job with Allen Media.
Allen Media Strategies. Yep.
Right.
If you have any kind of a project out there and you're looking for someone to do your PR for you, highly recommend them. I mean, Burke happens to be a very good friend of mine. We've known each other for like 20 years. Yep. So I wouldn't have had anybody else be my PR guy anyway. But he's excellent at what he does. I mean, so I'll get a call right away from the Today Show. We want you, or Good Morning America, whatever. We want you on the show tomorrow morning. We're going to fly you up today. I mean, that's how quick it happens, Yeah. So a year and a half ago, whatever it was, there was that absolutely unbelievable jackpot. It ended up being $1.6 billion. Remember that?
Yes. Oh, yes.
So I get the call, and sure enough, so I get the email and everything, verification, the tickets and everything, blah, blah, blah. Burke and his crew gets on the phone. They start calling all the other TV shows in New York, and they say, listen, Richard's going to be up there. Someone else is picking up the tab. you can get them on your show. Don't cost you anything. So they jump on that, of course, you know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I spent 48 hours in New York, Gary, and it was like a scene out of a movie. I'm being driven by a limo from TV station to TV station to TV station, go on to Good Morning America, get off, get in the limo, go to the Today Show, get off, do that, go in the back of the limo, go to Fox and Friends, whatever. And in the car, funny as heck, in the car, Bert is sitting next to me in the limo with two phones in his hand. So I'm doing the live TV shows. And then in the trips between the stations, he hands me a phone and says, okay, this is a radio station in Kansas. So I do the interview with them. I hand him back the phone. He hands me the other phone. Okay, this is a radio station in Dallas. And I do that one. And I hand him back the phone. He says, okay, this is a radio station in San Francisco. I mean, I must have done like 40 to 50 radio interviews that first day.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are millions and millions of books for sale on Amazon, right?
Right.
Right. That week, in particular, 2 different days that week, my book came in as the number 1 best-selling book of the day on Amazon. I mean, I would never have dreamt of that happening in a gazillion years. To have a number 1 best-selling book on Amazon? You know, that's what professional writers dream of having, you know?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. We're talking to Richard Lustig, who is the 7-time winner, 23 times to the lottery office to pick up his winnings. He's written a wonderful book, Learn How to Increase Your Chances of Winning the Lottery. And we're now going to, hopefully, I'm going to get into some. By the way, they can get the book on Amazon. They can also go to your website, I believe, as well.
Yeah, the best way to do it is to go to my website. It's the fastest, most secure way. No offense against Amazon, but if you buy it, I mean, all the major book companies out there sell my book either in their stores or on websites. You know, Barnes and Noble, Borders, Books A Million, whatever. But the thing is, they don't store the books. If they get orders for them, they hang on to the orders till they get enough so they get a break in the price. Then they go to the publisher, they buy the books, and then they ship them out to the customers. So you could wait a month, 2 months before you get your book. You go to my website, winninglotterymethod.com, you're buying it directly from me. So we keep the books in supply in our offices all the time. So we get your order today, the book goes out to you tomorrow.
Oh, well, that's absolutely fantastic. Now, here, let me get into some specifics here and we're going to get into your lecturing that you do as well as your coaching, because I know you coach people on a one-on-one basis. Is it that you go to a specific, and this also goes in with some of the tips that you have given out over a period of time. One thing that you do say, and I believe this myself, some of the don'ts you don't do. If you're using grocery money or rent money to get these tickets, don't do it.
Exactly. One of the biggest things, look, I've won a ton of money, and I make a profit on my book sales. I never deny that. Of course I do, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to make myself a martyr here or anything. But what I'm trying to do now is teach people how to play the lottery. It's not that people are stupid. It's they don't know how to play. So I am seriously on a major campaign to teach people what to do and what not to do so they can increase their chances of winning. In today's world, with the economy being as bad as it is, we'll see what Trump's going to do or not do, whatever. But meanwhile, if I can help, I turn people into millionaires all the time. I just had another one just in the last 2 months. A guy called me. He lives in Connecticut, and he had been playing the lottery for 30 years, never won garbage, you know, always either nothing or very little. Right. He had seen me on TV and heard me on the radio, whatever, and he thought I was full of BS, which that's fine. I get a lot of that. That's not a big deal. I don't worry about it.
Right.
He bought one, so he kept playing the way he always played, and he kept losing. So finally one day he gave in. And I know all this because, like I said, he called me and talked to me. I finally said, you know what, the heck with it. I'll spend a few bucks. I'll buy this guy's book, find out what all this hoopla is all about.
Mm-hmm.
He bought my book in late 2014. He completely changed the way he was playing the lottery. And he completely started following my method. Now, remember, he had been playing for 30 years and hadn't won diddly. He bought my book, and within 2 years, on November 10th of 2016, he hit a $1 million grand prize by following my method.
Now, let me ask you this, because I want to get this up front for everybody to understand. This is a book of your methods. You do not guarantee anything except the possibilities of winning a grand prize or doing better percentage-wise than you've done in the past, correct?
Absolutely. You know, there are people out there, it just, oh gosh, it just makes me so mad sometimes. There are people out there selling so-called lottery systems. You know, buy my lottery system, 97% guarantee you're going to win a grand prize, blah, 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 blah. Well, first of all, number one, nobody can guarantee anybody you're going to win a grand prize. Nobody can do that. Not me, not anybody. So if I told people I guaranteed them they'll win a grand prize, I would be lying, and they would be foolish to believe me. I tell people, check these people out. Do you know that 99% of the people out there that are selling some sort of a lottery system have never even won one grand prize? Not even one.
Right. I remember what my father used to say. Now I'm going on my own gambling. You and I think we talked about this when we first talked on the phone. That if there was a real surefire 100% method that you'd win every time, nobody would give anybody the method. Nobody would share anything with anybody. It's like the bookies on the touts. Oh, I have a 75 to 85% sure winner these teams this weekend. As a kid, I told you, my brother played for a certain football team that played in Super Bowl III. I bet a lot of money in high school that this team was going to beat the New York Jets. They didn't, and I ended up owing money, and my father had to give it to me, and it took me forever to pay it off, and that cured me of gambling. And I lived in Vegas for 10 years, and I can walk through a casino without even thinking about it. But if there was any surefire method, nobody would share that method with anybody on earth. They would be millionaires living on the Riviera, and nobody, I mean,
and there'd be no method to give them anyway, because you know what? The lotteries would be out of business. Yeah. I'd wipe them out in a month, and there would be no lotteries anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. You also say, don't use quick pick numbers.
Yes. Okay. So first of all, for the people who are listening that don't know what a quick pick is, that's when you go up to the counter, you hand the guy a couple of bucks and say, give me a couple tickets for tonight's big drawing. That's called a quick pick. So you hand the guy the money, and the computer picks out a set of numbers for you. Every time you get a quick pick, you get a different set of numbers. Therefore, your odds are always at the worst they can possibly be. For instance, Powerball, the odds of winning Powerball are 1 in 292 million, I think it is. 1 in 292 million. I mean, do you realize how impossible that is? And every time you buy a ticket, a quick pick, your odds are always 1 in 292 million. But if you follow my method, I can't guarantee that you'll win, but if you follow my method, all of a sudden you will start balancing that teeter-totter where more, start going more in your favor and less favor of the lottery. So you will reduce those odds against you the longer you play.
And the important thing, I think you told this to me on the phone too, was you have to consistently play. You can't just play every now and then. You have to consistently go and play in order to increase your odds. Using
Mr. Lustig, I bought your book and I bought it a couple of months ago and I really haven't won anything. And I go like, okay, well, let's see if we can figure out why. Why you're not doing better. Are you doing this and this? Well, yeah. Are you doing this? Well, no. Well, why aren't you doing that? Well, I just play, every week or so or whatever like that. I said, you're not following the method then. you have to follow it completely as it is. Do not alter it. And consistency and persistence is part of the method. If you build a car and you build everything about the car perfect, down to the air conditioning unit and the engine and the clutch and everything you do, you follow the manual and you build the perfect car. Mm-hmm. Except you didn't quite follow the rules about how you put the wheels on. So what's going to happen?
Yeah,
the wheels are going to fall off. Your car's not going to go anywhere.
You also talk, Richard. We're talking to Richard Lustig, who's the author of a really good book for you. Learn how to increase your chances of winning the lottery. He doesn't guarantee you're going to win the big money, but he basically says you go by my method, you consistently play, your chances of winning increase. But
now, let me go ahead. I was just going to say, now let me throw some carrots out there for the people to hang in front of their eyes, so they can see if this is real. So we mentioned about the guy in Connecticut that after 2 years of following my method, he won $2 million. $1 million.
Right.
I got a couple in Atlanta, followed my method. Within 3 or 4 months, they had a $2 million grand prize. Mm. I have a couple in Iowa. The wife saw me on one of the TV shows. She goes running into the other room and says to her husband, who's sitting there watching the football game, honey, I just saw this guy on TV, and he's won the lottery a bunch of times, and he's written a book, and it tells you how to win. And the husband, like most typical husbands, yeah, whatever, don't bother me, I'm watching my game.
Mm-hmm.
So she went out and bought my book anyway. Gary, within 3 months or 4 months, whatever it was, I don't remember exactly, they hit a $9 million grand prize by following my method.
Wow.
$9 million. So I have, and if you go to my website, winninglotterymethod.com, there's a page of testimonials. These are all real testimonials from real people. It's not just a bunch of garbage we made up to sell my books. People who have written me, who have won $500, never had won anything close to that, ever playing the lottery. They're so grateful. Another person said, I just bought your, I don't remember all of them, but there's so many of them in there, but I just bought your book. I just started playing it, and already this week I won $100. I already paid for your book 2.5 times already, so it was worth the investment, So I'm not saying you're going to win a grand prize. I wish I could, but you will, if you follow the method exactly as I spell it out in my book, you will, as the title of the book says, learn how to increase your chances of winning the lottery.
We're talking to Richard Lustig. He is the author of Learn How to Increase Your Chances of Winning the Lottery. Before we get into your individual coaching and the lecturing that you do, one more point I want to get to, and that is we hear the horror stories, Richard, of people who have won 30 million, 40 million, 50 million. What's the biggest common mistake that these folks make after they win this money? Because in about 4 or 5 years after they win the money, they're broke.
Yeah, they're bankrupt. Well, because, first of all, most, not all, most of the people who win those big, huge jackpots like that have never had that kind of money before in their lives.
Yeah, no, most people haven't.
So they don't know what to do. So they start going crazy. They start going out and buying fancy cars and throwing big parties and this and that and blah, 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 blah. And then, like you said, and there's also a whole other thing, too, about taxes, which people don't know about. They think when the lottery office hands you a check, you say, well, wait a minute, I won X amount of dollars. How come I'm only getting X amount of dollars? Because there's taxes taken out. Okay, that's understandable. Uncle Sam has to get his piece. But what they don't realize is they don't take enough out. Come April 15th, all of a sudden Uncle Sam is saying, well, wait a minute here, they only took out so much money and you still owe X amount more, and they went and blew all that money. So there's a million reasons why people end up that way, okay? So I tell people, listen to me, please. If you are fortunate enough to win a huge amount of money like that, the very first thing you do is get yourself debt-free. That's number one on the list.
Right.
Pay off your house, pay off your cars, pay off all your credit cards, pay off all your debts before you do anything.
Right.
Get yourself debt-free. That's number one. Number two, secure your retirement. Find yourself a good investment broker, a good accountant, maybe even a good lawyer. Make sure that I said good before each of those, make sure that you find people that have got good reputations and excellent track records, that they do a good job. They will help you set up retirement funds, investments and stuff, so that when you finally get to that age, you're not living in a refrigerator box under a bridge, okay? Mm-hmm. You're living in a nice, fancy retirement home where they take very good care of you. So, Number one, pay off all your debts. Number two, secure your retirement age. Now, number three, go out and buy the talking cars.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big ticket items were always seem to be the ones that really brought people down. Big cars, homes, family. Yeah. You know, yeah. I said to a friend of mine, now I don't play the lottery. I said I've cured myself of gambling when I was very, very young. And, every once in a while, if I go to a casino when I lived in Vegas, if friends came, I'd play it a little, but it would be discretionary money that if I lost it, I lost it. No big deal. But I've always said that if I won something like that one that was $150 million or something, and I ended up with $90 million, I don't have family. I'm not a charitable fellow. I mean, yes, I am, but I do it in a quiet way. Now, I can't remember. Does the state of Florida require you to announce who you are? Some states do. Is the state of Florida one of them?
Yes. Now, let me tell you my opinion, and this is strictly my opinion. Mm-hmm. There are states that it is a law that the person who wins has to be publicized. There are some states that allow the winners to stay anonymous. I am 100% in agreement with the states that allow people to remain anonymous.
Yes.
I have been in show business all my life. I've been on stage in front of 100,000 people and performed. Mm-hmm. Okay? Doesn't bother me. But you take some guy who has worked his whole life, fingers to the bone, or whatever the phrase is, working construction, okay? Never even deals with the public in his job, not even like a cashier who deals with people every day, buying their groceries. He doesn't even deal with the public. He strictly is out there building houses or digging ditches or whatever he does for a living. And now he wins this huge amount of money, and what do? They throw him in a room with a dozen TV cameras and floodlights and flashing cameras going off and 17 microphones all taped together in front of him. The guy is freaking out.
Yeah.
He's scared to hell. Why do that to a person? Why does the world have to know that he won that money? No one cared if do they do that when somebody loses a whole bunch of money? Do they put them in a room in front of cameras and all this stuff and say, so, you played the lottery and you lost $2 million. How does it feel? It's like, no. So it's like, why should they do that to winners? It's not fair to those poor people. I mean, they're not poor anymore, but I mean poor people in regards to their emotions and stuff. They should be allowed to remain anonymous.
Yes, I agree. Absolutely. I have very few family members left, but suddenly a cousin coming out of the woodwork. I don't know you from Adam. We're talking to Richard Lustig. He is the winner, Lustig, a 7-time winner, 23 times gone to the lottery office to pick up his winnings. He's written a wonderful book, Learn How to Increase Your Chances of Winning the Lottery. You can get it at winninglotterymethod.com. You can also go to Amazon, but you'll have to possibly wait a little while. This is the part of the interview that I'm really excited about talking to you about, Richard. Okay. And that is your one-on-one counseling as well as your speaking engagements that you do around the country. Casinos call upon you. Corporations call upon you. When you go to a corporation, do you use your method that's in the book in helping them increase whatever it is that they're asking you to be there to do for them, their sales or whatever?
Right. When I'm hired to do a speaking engagement, it's not like they're saying to me, okay, we want you to come talk and here's what we want you to talk about. That's not That's not how it works. You're hiring me to talk about what I talk about. Okay? I'm not a motivational speaker. I'm not an investment speaker. I'm not an educational speaker. I am and there's hundreds of thousands of each of those. Okay?
Right. Yes.
I am the only person in the world that can speak about what I speak about, and that is how to increase your chances of winning the lottery. So when I do a speaking engagement, instead of me doing an interview on radio or on TV where I'm reaching out to an unknown amount of people, and it's a little bit impersonal, but that's okay. And I'm trying to be as helpful as I can with people when they hear me on a radio interview or see me on a TV interview. But when I get to do those speaking engagements, now I've got a audience of 50, 500, 1,000, whatever the amount of group of people that's there. And I tell the person who hires me, and then I tell the audience at the beginning of my session. What I'm going to do is there's going to be three parts to what I'm going to talk about. The first part is going to be history. I'm going to tell you how I started out, just like everybody else, not knowing what I was doing, bumping into walls, losing my shirt, blah, blah, blah. Then the second section is where I tell them about how I developed my method and stuff, and I actually give them tips out of my method because, of course, after the session's over with, I sit at the table and I sell my books and my CDs and my pictures or whatever. But even if they don't buy my book that night, just by being in that audience, they're going to learn some actual tips from my method that will help them to increase their chances of winning. And then the third thing I do is what every speaker I've ever spoken to so far tells me, that I am out of my mind. You should never, ever do this. And I tell them that I open the floor to questions. Oh, my God, you don't ever want to do that when you're doing a speaking engagement. Oh, why not? Well, because you've all of a sudden lost control of the audience. You're letting them – they could ask you questions you don't want them to ask me. I said, what questions could they ask me that I don't want them to ask me? Because everything I say is 100% the truth. 100%. That's why when somebody says to me, well, you said this, I say, whoa, no. I know what I say because I say the truth, and that is not the truth. So I would never have said that, So those are the three things that I talk to the people about. But then we got the one-on-one coaching calls. Now, this is where someone pays to be on the phone with me for an hour. They can buy more than an hour, but we sell them in hour increments. And for that hour, I belong to them. And I tell them at the beginning of the session, here's how this is going to go. I'm going to open the floor to you first. You ask me anything you want to ask me. I will answer all your questions. I will help you out the best I can. I'm not a real time clock puncher kind of guy, so if the hour runs out and you didn't get to finish all your questions, I'll usually let it go a little bit longer. I'm not going to say, oh, time up, goodbye, I don't do that. And I said, but if you run out of questions, you're done. You say, well, that was all I wanted to know, and you still got time left. What I'm going to do is tell you some things that I think you should have asked me, So that's why I love doing the one-on-one coaching calls and the speaking engagements, because it gives me a chance to be more personal and direct and like touching the people. That gives me satisfaction, even though I'm being paid. Okay, and the joy I get out of people, I see their eyes, I see the smile on their faces when they go like, "Wow, that makes so much sense. Why didn't I think of that?"
We're talking to Richard Lustig here on The Express. He's the author of How to Learn to Increase Your Chances of Winning the Lottery. Go to winninglotterymethod.com and you can pick up the book. We're not getting into too many of the specifics of his method because I want you to buy the book. I mean, that's why Richard is here and to talk to us. When people call you up for the individual coaching, are they looking for a magic bullet, Richard?
Oh, I get that all the time. Well, Richard, listen, I can't afford your book. Can you just give me the numbers for this Saturday night?
If I know those numbers, I wouldn't be needing you on the phone.
I know I never say that to them. That would be so cruel. But no, I say to them, come on. I said, it doesn't work that way. I said, again, if it worked, if it was that easy, we wouldn't be talking because I would be a gazillionaire and the lotteries would be out of business already. You know? I said, it's not a matter of giving you the magic set of numbers. I said, it's a method, and you have to follow the method. But I tell people, when you buy my book, you don't need a dictionary to understand what I say. You don't need a calculator to figure it out. I wrote it very short, simple, and sweet to the point. Listen, this is a how-to book, okay? Now, let's say you wanted to build a dollhouse, and you go to the store and you buy this book, How to Build a Dollhouse, and it's like 300 pages, okay? Because one of the gripes I have gotten every once in a while is, well, you know, I bought your book, and it was only 40 pages. You know, it's like, should have been more than that. Why should it have been more than that? It's not the amount of pages, it's the content. It's what's put on those pages. So you buy this book, How to Build a Dollhouse, and you're reading, and you're reading. And so far, it's telling you when dollhouses were originally started building back in 1704 BC, and what country first started building dollhouses, and what kind of materials they used to use to make dollhouses. You've now gone through 150 pages of that 300-page book, and you finally stop and say, man, I don't care about when these things were built and how they used to be built. I just want to know, does the blue peg go in the red circle? You know?
Yeah.
It's the same thing. They don't care when lotteries started, how they used to be run. They want to know, what can I do today that is going to help me win the lottery? And that's why I made the book short, simple, easy to understand, so they can pick it up, read it, and start applying it immediately.
Talk a little bit about it. So we've got a little less than 10 minutes left. Talk about Lottery University.
All right. So there are people who read books and learn how to do stuff by reading books. But then I was getting questions from people saying, well, you know, we live in Florida, and there's a large Hispanic population in Florida. So people were asking me, oh, do you have your book in Spanish? Well, I didn't, and I don't speak Spanish. So I got a hold of a company that translates things into Spanish, and I had them translate my book into Spanish. So now we offer my method also in Spanish. But then I had people saying to me, well, I'm not good at reading books. I like to buy audiobooks so I can listen to them. So do you have your book as an audiobook? Well, no, I didn't. So Bert, my PR guy, who was also like myself, been in radio and stuff like that, he said, I'll read the book. I'll make an audiobook out of it for you. So he did, and we offer it now as an audio CD. But then I had people saying to me, well, you know, a lot of times there's programs that teach you how to do something by videos, and those are the ones that I really learned the best from. Well, I didn't have my book as a video course. So we came up with Lottery Winner University. And what we did was we recorded the various parts of my method in front of a camera and talked about what you do and what you don't do and blah, blah, blah. And so now they can read my book, they can listen to my book, or they can learn my book by watching videos. So that's what it's about. We gave them another choice, another way to learn it.
Oh, that's fantastic. Are there scratch-off games that are better payoff percentages than others?
Yes, absolutely. Just like ball games. There's ball games that pay off better than others. And it boils down, first of all, to the grand prize. The smaller the grand prize, the less the odds are against you. That's why Powerball and Mega Millions, which have the largest grand prizes, are the hardest to win because the percentages to win are so difficult. Same thing with scratch tickets. You got the games that grand prizes are $5 million or $10 million, and those are usually the $20, $25, $30 tickets, okay? So the tickets are more expensive. They have bigger prizes, but they cost more money. So here's what I tell people. As I mentioned earlier, budget, budget, budget. That's the first thing I preach to people all the time. Please, please, people, don't spend grocery money. Don't spend rent money. Don't get caught up in what's called lottery fever. Don't worry about how much Joe Blow down the street is spending. Don't worry how much Richard Lustig is spending. Maybe they can afford more than you. Figure out what you can afford and stick to that budget. So if we're talking about scratch tickets, okay, if your budget only allows you to buy $5 tickets and the grand prizes in the $5 tickets are only 25, 30,000 or whatever, then that's all you should play. But here's what I tell people when it comes to like the ball games, okay? Because everybody wants to win that Powerball, $40 million. But I tell people, you've got to realize that every drawing there's millions and millions of losers. Why? Because it's so hard to win. So I say to them, let me ask you a question. You'd love to win that $40 million, wouldn't you? And they say, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. If you only won $100,000 tonight, not $40 million, if you only won $100,000 tonight, would that not dramatically change your life?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God, yeah, it would. Then play the games that only have the $100,000 grand prize. You check the odds, and you'll see the odds are way better in your favor. 3 of my 7 lottery game grand prizes are from a game called Fantasy 5. The grand prize is only $200,000, but I won that game 3 times. And why? Because the odds of winning that game are only 1 in 386,000.
Wow. What are there special numbers that one can play? Because you also go beyond your birthdays and wedding numbers and everything else.
There are no special numbers, and this is where I'm trying to unbrainwash people. Everybody thinks it's all about the numbers. Numbers do not win the jackpots. Sets of numbers win the jackpots. So they spend all these money, they get hooked by these guys out there that are rip-off artists and con men, selling them these algorithm programs where they tell you what numbers come up the most or what numbers come up the least. People, that is all such a bunch of hogwash. It does not matter about the individual numbers, okay? It's about the set of numbers. And in my book, I teach you, once you have picked a set of numbers, and it doesn't matter how you pick it. Now, there are people out there that are smart enough that don't buy the quick picks and they pick their own numbers. But then they go and make the most common mistake of people that pick their own numbers, and that is they pick mostly birthdays and anniversaries. Now, if you're doing that, that means all your numbers are going to be between 1 and 31 because the most numbers in a month are 31, okay?
Right.
And if you're playing a game that you're supposed to pick 5 numbers out of 1 to 60, well, now numbers 32 through 60, you're not even playing. So what happens is if you are fortunate enough to win and all your numbers were low, this happened about a year ago here in Florida. The numbers came in for Fantasy 5 one night, and all the numbers were below 10. So these people woke up the next morning. They looked and they said, "Oh my goodness! I won! I won a couple $100,000. I've got a winning ticket." And then they go online and they find out that there were 40 people that all had that same set of numbers, and they only won like $2,000 or something, whatever it was. You know?
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
the trick is not the trick. I hate to use that. That's a negative word. The thing to do is to not just play birthdays and anniversaries. Pick your numbers over the whole spectrum of the numbers you have to pick from in that example 1 through 60. Now, what will happen is if all your numbers are low and your numbers come up, you're going to find you're splitting that jackpot with 10, 20, 30 people. But if your numbers are spread out over the whole spectrum and now you're fortunate enough for your set of numbers to come up, you'll find out in most cases you're either the only winner, so you don't have to split it with anybody, or there may only be 2 or 3 winners. So do you want to split it with 20 or 30 people, or you want to split it with 2 or 3?
Richard, we are running out of time here very slowly. I want to thank you so much for joining us here tonight. You're going to come back, I guarantee it, because there's so much more to go on, and I want to have you back from time to time to talk about what's going on with the lotteries, and I have a bunch of other questions to go. We've had Richard Lustig on the show. He's the author of Learn How to Increase Your Chances of Winning the Lottery. He's done it 7 different times. He has really increased his winnings a great deal. Go to winninglotterymethod.com for that book. And what's your other website that they can get a hold of you at?
Well, that's still the only website for my lottery, and on there is my name, my address, my mailing address, my phone number, my email address. But for my talent agency, I have lustigtalent.com. So that's not anything to do with the lottery. That's the talent agency.
Right.
And again, on there is my name, my address, my phone number. I make it very easy for people to reach me.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
I want people to reach me.
Absolutely. But Richard, thank you so very much for joining us. We really do appreciate it. And I just want to say to everybody out there, thank you for joining us tonight on The Express. You can catch me at Facebook, Gary Allen, ALAN. You can also go to youtube.com, Gary Allen, The Express. This program will be on YouTube come Friday afternoon by 5 o'clock. This program repeats itself Thursday evening at 7 p.m. on diversitybroadcastnetwork.com, as well as progressivevoices.com. Go on their demand channel as well as their app. And I just want to thank all of you for taking a few minutes out of your day. Richard, thank you again. Until next week, take care of yourselves and each other.
You've been listening to The Express with Gary Allen. Join us here every Tuesday night at 10 for more captivating talk with Gary Allen. See you next time on The Express.